Open up the depths of your heart to find eternity and live for more than your eyes can see. Give God the glory for all eternity.
If you missed the previous 3 videos, it's important that you watch them. Each is only about 5 minutes long, and they have a great deal of interesting information in them, and they set the stage for this video. I'll put a link right up here to the first of those so you can watch them before going on. We know from Daniel chapter 2 that the kingdom was to be established in the days of the Roman Empire. John and Jesus preached that the kingdom of heaven was at hand, and Jesus prophesied that the kingdom would come in the lifetimes of his hearers. The common explanation for this is that the kingdom was postponed due to the Jews' rejection. If so, doesn't the prophecy of Jesus in Matthew 16 fail? Well, this is a serious question because failed prophecy is a signal for recognizing a false prophet. Moses said, "And you may say in your heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord has not spoken?" When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the thing does not come about or come true, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You shall not be afraid of him. That's in Deuteronomy 18:21 and 22. If a prophet's words fail, then the prophet is a false prophet. We can't blow this off and ignore what we've seen. Did God know the Messiah would be rejected? Well, you can't read Isaiah 53 and miss that fact. Psalm 118:22 and 23 says, "The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes." This was all foreordained by God. Peter said that Jesus was delivered up by the predetermined plan and foreknowledge of God, Acts 2:23. And the prayer of the apostles in Acts 4:24 through 28 makes it clear that God had planned all of this out. Postponement of the kingdom until a revived Roman Empire arises seems like a great explanation, but doesn't change the fact that Jesus said, "Some here won't die before the kingdom comes with power." Now let's be fair. I hear scholars argue that when God makes promises, the promise must always be understood. For example, when God promised that David's descendant would sit on his throne in 2 Samuel 7, David understood it to be a literal physical throne in the city of Jerusalem. Therefore, God intended for Jesus to sit and rule on a literal physical throne in Jerusalem. Let's assume that logic is correct. What did the apostles understand when Jesus said the kingdom would come with power before some who were present had died? We all know what they were expecting or thinking. This will be even greater than the kingdoms of David and Solomon. Jesus will rule in Jerusalem and the Romans will be defeated and expelled from the land. They didn't get what they were expecting. Jesus didn't have to explain what would really happen, and God didn't have to explain to David what he really intended to do. That kingdom was coming, and that clearly implies that Jesus would be the king in their lifetimes. Just to make this a little more interesting, let's add Colossians 1:13 through 14, which says, "For he delivered us from the domain of darkness and transferred us to the kingdom of his beloved Son, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins." The Colossians were in the kingdom, and it was Jesus' kingdom. So Jesus was the king. I know that sounds strange to some people, but that's what Paul said. And that leads me back to Daniel 2. A closer look demands consideration of the position that Daniel 2 actually presents the idea of a revived Roman Empire when the kingdom does come. So let's examine that option in our next video. I would take it up here, but this video would run way too long. Please join me next week as we go back to Daniel 2 and ask the question, is there a future revival of the Roman Empire found in that prophecy? If you haven't already received notifications of my new videos as they're released, please subscribe and ring the notifier bell.